Chapter 45. Escape. Professor Chin suddenly made a move, snatched the ancient sheepskin book of the prophet, and attempted to hurl it onto the ground. We wanted to stop him, but it was too late. We couldn't reach in time. Faced with this sudden crisis, we had to react with unusual tactics as life or death could hinge on a split second. I kicked out reflexively at the sheepskin book, which was about to plummet straight down, sending it skidding sideways like a soccer ball. The direction in which I kicked the book was towards where Fatty stood. He didn't dare delay, but given the book's low trajectory, he couldn't bend to catch it in time and had to deflect it with his foot, ensuring it didn't hit the ground. The chamber, already cramped and low, now hosted a scene akin to acrobatics. Every one of us held our breath, and it felt like time slowed down, perhaps an effect of the adrenaline rush. Fatty's kick sent the book into an upward slant, flying right towards Shirley Yang. Just as she seemed ready to catch it, Professor Chin lunged forward and grabbed the book first, looking poised to throw it down again. At this critical moment, a broad figure charged forth, toppling Professor Chen to the ground. It was Fatty, who, seeing that the situation was dire, resorted to a taboo final maneuver, heavy meat shield, pinning Chen down. I also hurried over and snatched the time bomb from Professor Chen's grasp, managing to keep the sheepskin tome that held our fates from hitting the ground. Shirley Yang pushed Fatty off. The professor is of considerable age. Do you want to kill him? If anything happens to him, you'll be paying with your life. She then hurried to resuscitate Professor Chen, who was left disheveled under Fatty's considerable bulk. Fatty's weight nearly cost the old man his life. I carefully placed the sheepskin book into the portable bag I wore around my waist, and then turned to Shirley Yang and Fatty to say, "Have you both noticed that there's something really odd about Professor Chen? When he speaks, doesn't he sound a bit like Yi Sin?" Fatty agreed. Yeah, could he possibly be haunted by that young girl's spirit? She died under such grievous circumstances. Maybe she's afraid that we will leave, and she will have no one for company, trying to keep us here. It's quite pitiable when you think about it. I retorted fiercely, "Cut the crap. The living should not mingle with the dead. She was our companion in life. But now that she's dead and wants to drag us along, that's just selfish and pitiful. We can't afford to be soft-hearted at a time like this." Shirley Yang argued, "Don't talk nonsense. There are no ghosts in this world. The professor must have suffered a great shock and is not clear-headed, leading to his abnormal behavior. If there really were ghosts, why possess Professor Chin and not one of us three?" I explained, "You don't know the whole story. The situation is urgent, and it's not convenient to go into detail now. One day I'll tell you about some of my past experiences. I used to be a complete materialist, but later I found that many things couldn't be explained. It's not easy for us three to encounter ghosts because we all carry objects that ward off evil spirits. I have a piece of a black donkey's hoof. Fatty has one too. And you wear an authentic touch gold sign around your neck. But Professor Chin doesn't have these things. And with his muddled consciousness and lack of strong spiritual fire, he's vulnerable to possession. You don't believe me? Stuff this black donkey hoof into Professor Chin's mouth to see if he's possessed by a vengeful spirit, and we'll know." Shirley Yang, however, refused to comply. "Is that something humans eat? If you're so keen on feeding him the black donkey hoof, then you eat it." I thought to myself that our pay was already lost, and what mattered now was getting out of here alive. Any carelessness could be a hidden danger, so we had to try the black donkey hoof on Professor Chin to see what was truly going on with him, as his behavior earlier was not simply that of a crazed man. Despite Shirley Yang's protests, I insisted on putting the black donkey hoof into Professor Chin's mouth. His expression, once fierce, had reverted to a dazed, foolish state. When presented with the black donkey hoof, he bit it and started to chuckle foolishly. Shirley Yang angrily said, "Are you not going to stop until you torture the professor to death? Take that black donkey hoof away." I quickly removed the black donkey hoof, realizing that perhaps my concerns had been unwarranted. We had all just managed to calm down from the recent chaos when we remembered the prophet's revelation that he would show us a way out. We gathered around the prophet's remains and scrutinized them for any clue, no matter how minor, that may have been overlooked. After looking several times and finding nothing, no suggestive symbols, drawings, or texts, Fatty, restless, felt around the prophet's remains to no avail. The prophet's body was seated cross-legged, one hand resting by the stone box and the other lying flat on his knees. There were no directional gestures, nothing but the remains of decayed clothing and a piece of sheepskin. I searched the room for any hidden mechanisms or passageways. The chamber, hewn from solid rock, bore no clues, just a few small cracks that let through drafts of cool air, suggesting that we were not far below the mountaintop. The pressure from earlier shifts in the mountain structure had caused numerous fine fractures to form within the tomb, but without explosives or tools, carving a route through solid stone seemed impossible. The only entrance to the chamber was through the fissure we had come in by, and there had once been a stone door, which was now sealed by a collapse of stones. The mountain's internal rupture had merged our escape route with the tomb's passageway, and any thought of returning the way we had come was out of the question. The three of us were frantic. Then suddenly the ground shook beneath us, and faint cracking sounds emanated from the mountain. The sounds grew louder, the vibration of the ground more intense. With the pressure inside the mountain having built up after two major splits, it seemed we were on the verge of experiencing a third. Could this be the fulfillment of the prophet's revelation? A strong tremor shook the chamber, and three large fissures formed. One on the floor and two on the sides of the chamber, exactly at a height and width allowing for passage by a person. Fatty cursed, "Damn it, we have to make a choice, huh? The prophet is playing us. Let's each take a different path. Better one of us gets out than all of us buried in this mountain." Shirley Yang, pointing at the prophet's remains, said, "The prophet has already shown us the way." Her voice trembled with suppressed excitement. Fatty and I looked down and saw that the large crack in the ground had caused the stone chest to sink halfway in, tilting the prophet's remains to one side. His right hand pointed towards the large fissure on the left side of the chamber. We quickly knelt down and expressed our gratitude to the prophet for his blessing. Stones from the chamber's ceiling were falling more frequently now, making it impossible to stay in place. I instructed Fatty to carry Professor Chen, while Shirley Yang and I lifted Yi Eason's body and squeezed into the fissure on the left side of the chamber wall. A few steps later, we were greeted by a blinding white light and the sight of the long-missed sky. Only a few meters lay between us and the peak. Yet the mountain trembled violently, cracking further, with the ground beneath us covered in loose stones, making it difficult to find stable footing. Fatty crouched down to help Shirley Yang climb up first. Then he did the same for Professor Chen. When it was my turn, I asked Fatty to throw down a rope to hoist Yi Eason's body up. I didn't want to leave her body buried in the mountain forever. It was a struggle for Fatty to climb out, and it took significant effort from both me and Shirley Yang above to pull him out. At that moment, a loud crash came from behind me. I turned to look back only to see the mountain collapsing inward, with Zaglama splitting in two. The vast circular dome of the ghost cave, unable to withstand the increasing number of fractures, was continuously crumbling. The stone beam where the queen's sarcophagus rested, along with the corpse flower, countless treasures, and the megalithic statues, was falling into the bottomless ghost cave. Black water flowed out, engulfing everything that fell into the hole. The shadowy mountain cast and the pitch-black cave mouth seemed like a devil with a gaping maw, devouring everything within its belly. I clung to the rock wall with one hand, holding Yi Eason's body with the other, too scared to move and fearing I would fall into the ghost cave along with the collapsing mountain. Fatty called out anxiously from above, "Old Hu, climb up, forget about the girl's body. We can't care about the dead now." I had intended to bring Yi Eason's body out no matter what, but the arm that held her body was sore and numb. I realized if I didn't let go, I would fall with her. Reluctantly, I loosened my hold, not anticipating that the body's arm would catch on my carry bag. As Yi Eason's weight pulled it down, the bag ripped open, sending the prophet's sheepskin revelations rolling out alongside Yi Eason's body, both plummeting down the mountain.